Hello, everyone. Happy Friday to you all. I hope all is well and you can hear me okay. You can, if you're joining us here live on the stream, which I'm still in the process of loading on my phone, go ahead and share where you're joining us from. I'm here in New York and it is, I think, going to be 90 degrees or something crazy today. So I'm not complaining at all. I'm looking forward to the warm weather and enjoying the short summer that we have here. So whether you're here on Clubhouse or Facebook Live, you can use the chat or the comment to share where you're joining us from. And if you're here for the replay, you can always feel free to post that as well. And so welcome to Business Basics Friday. I am Safietou Russell, founder and CEO of SDR Consulting, Inc. Business Basics Friday is a weekly session catered to business owners to provide value to them. We have a variety of guest speakers that come in and educate you as business owners in the many areas that you may manage. And this, just as a disclosure, this is strictly for information and education purposes. There's no client relationship or any legal advice being shared here today. As far as my background, I've been in the industry 20 years and I'm a CPA and enrolled agent and have also had my master's in taxation. And a little bit about SDR Consulting. We're a virtual firm based in New York, but we do have clients all over. And we mostly work with business owners, helping them with the startup and cleanup services, as well as mental health professionals, helping them to save taxes with their profitable practices. So if you have questions, as I mentioned, go ahead and post them in the comments or chat. I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of our guest speakers for today. Me and Davita are definitely going to just have an informal chat, discussing some tips on how to prepare yourself for the pending recession as a business owner. And Davita is a CPA and also a financial advisor. So welcome, Davita. You can go ahead and, give your intro and your background.
Hi, everyone. My name is Davita Pray. I'm the owner of Davita Pray CPA PC, which is an accounting firm based out of Pennsylvania that focuses on small business, mom and pop shops, offering tax services, bookkeeping, accounting, consulting, so on and so forth. I'm also the owner of Modern Oasis Planning LLC, which is a comprehensive financial planning firm where I offer various financial planning services depending on where people are in their lives. So I've also been doing financial literacy for probably like 15 years now. I've been in business for over 12 years. So I'm hoping to bring my experience to this wonderful and very relevant conversation.
Definitely timely, and I'm looking forward to it as well because being able to do the CPA and your financial advisory, I don't know. I'll give it up to you for that because that financial world is a whole nother beast. It's very different than accounting. People don't realize that. Yeah. So so I'm going to kind of share a couple of tips that I came across and that we've used as business owners ourselves. We've seen the ebbs and flow of the of the economy, and so we're living the reality too, So a recent study showed that about 57 of small business owners fear the upcoming economy getting worse, and they are also fearing that it could go back to where it was 2 years ago with COVID, and that's worrisome. But one thing that is different is we were kind of caught off guard with COVID, right? But we're now a little bit more prepared because we know something else is going to come around. And the question is, did we prepare, or what can we do to prepare if you haven't been in the last 2 years post-COVID? Because a lot of people are still kind of catching up. So we know this one is coming or may come, whatever. We see the signs, so what can we do ahead of time? Whereas with COVID, we, it's totally left field. The other thing that is the main factor of recessions and why businesses may struggle, and even individuals, is cash flow, right? So for me, even as an accountant, whenever I heard about cash flow, I was like, what does that really mean? What is cash flow? And it's just a timing difference, honestly. In my opinion, if I were to break it down to simplest terms, it's the difference between, the work you're doing and the expenses you're incurring and then the money coming in. And is that timing in alignment with the future bills coming up? Or are you, grabbing straws or using financing that's costing you more money or unable to, meet payroll? These are the things that cause these disruptions in business, because when you're in business, you're not getting a steady paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, every month, as you would as an employee. And so cash flow is something that is most important to be aware of going into this type of situation, because you may not readily have customers coming in the way you did. And do you have those reserves to keep your business up and running? If not, what can you do now to be prepared for that? The other thing is focusing on, making as much income as you can, right? So depending on what line of business you're in, if you're in the mental health space, that was a big thing from COVID and continuing, and telehealth was a big thing because people were dealing with a lot. And so fortunately for that industry, that may have been, a good thing, so that they could, go in business for themselves if they weren't already, or increase their client base. And that's something that's probably not going away anytime soon. But if you were a storefront, where things were shut down, they were curfews and people couldn't come to your store, then you were in trouble, So, where we are now, can you make as much money as you can? What can you do? What skills can you hone in on? What's the most profitable areas of your business that you can hone in on, so that you can make as much as you can in these next couple of months or a year, whatever, and have that cash flow and have that reserve in the event that things do take a downturn. And of course, cutting expenses where possible. So you want to know where you're leaking money. Maybe you're spending too much in a certain area. Maybe that the return on investment on that expense is not keeping up. Maybe you have to make some cuts. These are things that are unfortunate that has to be done to stay afloat. And then the last thing is really diversifying. So of course, not having all your income coming from one bucket. We always told that don't put all your eggs in one basket, but how many people are taught what other baskets to put them in, right? And so diversification is important. I know, Davita, you have, financial literacy and financial advisory, and you have your accounting, so you're diversified. I have the accounting. My husband and I are in business as well in the e-commerce space. He's in the social work field, so we're pretty diverse here and growing. Our son's going to be a future artist, so diversification is ideal. So that if one does drop, you do have the others to pick up on, and so we know this downturn may be coming, the recession may be coming, but we also do know it'll come back, and then another couple of years it'll happen again. So what are we going to do now to implement some strategies that we can use again in the future if we need to, and be better prepared in the event it does happen again? So that's what I wanted to share. And then I'm going to throw in a funny comment at the end, but go ahead and share, Davita, what your thoughts are.
So I'm mainly going to be expounding on a lot of what you said already. It's funny because I used to run like a weekly, or I think it was a monthly class teaching biblical financial principles. And one of the often quoted or paraphrased Bible verses is John chapter 9, verse 4, when people say work while it's day, right? Because night come when no man can work. That's essentially can be used to describe the cyclical ebbs and flows when you're in business. And the biggest thing I think business owners need to do is they need to take a moment and they need to sit down and actually take this threat seriously. In other words, do it now. Think about it now. Like, get the thought in your mind that, okay, this is going to happen. It's not really much I can do about it. Okay, so being as though this is what it is, what can I do to actually get ahead of this as much as I can, right? We don't want to be, as I say, I think there's a saying out there, there's two types of people in the world, the folks who plan and the folks who, let life happen to them or something like that. So, take it seriously, and then look at it as kind of like an imminent situation, and then be willing to take whatever extreme steps necessary in order to do what you have to do. Like, for me personally, I literally just moved my personal residence because I knew what was coming. And I know that sounds like really extreme or whatever, but with dealing with businesses and business owners, I've seen folks get hammered because they're getting chewed up in high rent, things of that nature. And in time of a recession, that overhead is going to chew up a larger part of your cash flow if you are seeing a reduction in sales, right? So the first thing you want to do is maybe talk to your accountant, start running some numbers. What would my business look like if I lost 25% of my sales? Like, am I in peak season right now? And if so, what can I do to maximize this as much as possible so that when it eventually slows down, it doesn't feel as bad, right? You got to get the mindset of being, you have to get the mindset, and, the sooner the better. The second thing you mentioned was building the cash cushion, right? One of the things that I would do during tax season, which is typically, our highest time of the year revenue wise, was to, take like a slither of the revenues that were coming in and put it into my savings and just not think about it, right? And that helped me a lot during the slower seasons where cash flow wasn't as great. And so, I would build up that savings account real nice. And then I don't have to worry about, having to jump into debt or whatever, if I have to make a bill. The other thing is lines of credit become crucial during a recession, because you want to be able to keep certain essential services going in order to keep your business running. And you don't want lack of cash flow to lock you up to the point where you start losing the very things you need to actually earn your revenue, right? So if you have lines of credit, keep them open. If you don't, but you're actually in a good place right now, you could possibly get one. This is something you may want to look into with your current banks. You want to be careful going with the online services or whatever, because oftentimes the fees and interest rates might be a little predatory. I would say if that's really not your forte, you should be sitting down with your accountant to go over any terms of any new loan agreements before you sign it, right? I had a client who went ahead and went with someone to get some financing, didn't talk to me first, and then ended up almost losing his business because the terms of the loan it just didn't fit his type of business. And then lastly, again, expounding on lowering your expenses, right? I say you do it on the personal side and the business side. A lot of times when we live in a good life, we get used to it. We think it's going to be here forever, right? Mm-hmm. And so we start living high off the hog, and we go on trips to Mexico every week. No offense. I mean, listen, I'm here for the trips to Mexico. Nothing against it. I love it. But if you're switching to the mindset, okay, this may not be going on for much longer, you may have to start making those adjustments now to your personal expenses as well as your business expenses, because you're going to have to learn to live on less, right? You don't want this to come to smack you in your behind and all of a sudden you can't make your mortgage payment. Come on now, we done been there, okay? And in the process of lowering your expenses, what you don't want to do is to cut your nose off to spite your face. Don't fire the key employee, okay? Find a way to make that work, all right? Don't get rid of your essential services like your accountants and your attorneys. Don't say, well, I just won't file taxes for a couple of years. That is one of the things that messed a few people up a couple of years ago after the pandemic, because you went a few years while filing your taxes, and all of a sudden the government's like, hey, we understand what's going on. Here's some money. And you're like, well, see what had happened. If there's no what had happened. If they decide to put out stimulus money or grant money or whatever, you want to be in position to get it, which means your finances, your financials have to be in order. So no, you can't cut the bookkeeper. Sorry. You can't cut the CPA. Sorry. You can't cut the attorney. They got to look over your contracts. Sorry. Okay. But there might be other areas where you may want to trim, or maybe you just need to renegotiate with your suppliers or your service providers kind of work something out so that, you know, maybe you need to change the payment terms. Because as you said earlier, sometimes it's about timing, right? You might need a little bit more time to get that cash flow in so that you can make this expense. That doesn't mean you stop paying it. That doesn't mean you stop using that service. Yeah, that was mainly my points.
Love it, and so accurate. And it's interesting because there are people who, you know, lost money or lost opportunities for money because they weren't prepared, and that is a major takeaway. In order to know where you need to cut or where you need to increase income coming in, you need to know your numbers. And so if you're in business and your books are all over the place, or you don't even have a set of books, it's a worthy investment to get that in place now. We're in June of 2022 with the halfway point of the year. If you haven't done any bookkeeping or have no idea how your business is doing this year, and we're halfway through, now is the time, so that you can see where the money's going, where it's coming from. You can see the cash flow. You can be prepared for financing if you need it. If you want to go in and get a line of credit, like Davita mentioned, or if you want to go in and get an official loan, they need financials. They don't want to see your bank statements only. Some of the other predatory lenders may go by that, but the official loans, they want a full set of financials, a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement, regardless of your business size, regardless of your business structure, even if you're a sole proprietor, contractor, there's so many different softwares out there, but I recommend working a professional on them. Even if you're doing them yourself, just have something in place. Davita and I in similar industries, and in dealing with taxes, it's the same thing. You come with a box of receipts, or you come with your statements. Those are not financials. If you're running a business, even if it's a $30,000 business, you should be running it like $1 million company. And that'll prepare you for times like this. It'll prepare you for financing. It'll prepare you for, selling your business in the future. There's so many different things as a business owner you have the ability to do, but they're all surrounding your records. And from when you start that business day one, that's when your records start. You don't have to wait till you're making a certain amount of dollars. So that's definitely important. The funny thing I wanted to share is with the IRS, increasing their mileage rate reimbursement by 4 cents. So the IRS came in recently and said, okay, optionally, I'm not sure why it's optional, but starting from July 1st, 2022 through December, standard mileage is now 62.5 cents a business mile instead of 58.5. So there's a little relief there, but if you're not tracking your miles, it doesn't matter. Right? So if you are in business, this is a little help that'll come around for tax season, but you want to be tracking your miles, because there's going to be a cutoff where half of the year is at one rate and half of the year is at the other. And you can't come with your rounded miles and estimates. You're going to need actual numbers to take advantage of the 4 cents increase. So, thank you, IRS. I thought that was funny, but, at the end of the day, track your miles so you can benefit. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Davita, as far as like your financial side of the business, what do you feel about, I don't deal with investments at all, but what do you feel about like the market and investments and people kind of pulling money out or leaving money in, just in general?
It really depends on the person's situation. It's kind of interesting, I guess, because I've just kind of sat back and watched people's emotional reactions to the whole thing, one way or another, and I've always been a proponent of kind of making sure your financial house is in some sort of order before you start throwing all your money into the markets. Because what you don't want to do is put yourself in a situation where, because the markets are going to do what they do, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where what's happening in the markets is going to cause you immediate financial stress within your own personal situation. So now that being said, I know a lot of older Americans have their money tied up in retirement accounts. 401ks, IRAs, they have legitimate concerns, and they probably should be reaching out to somebody right now, just to be honest. to make sure that there's still going to be able to meet their goals for whatever it is that they set. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are calling their folks. I know with my people, I saw the storm clouds gathering kind of a couple months back, and I proactively reached out to a few people who I thought were not in a good position with their particular situation. But I know, you know, other people, other advisors, they're different. They handle things, you know, a different way. But I try to be proactive if I know something's coming up, right? Like, we're in unprecedented times. So there's no way I can project what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Even this particular recession, I think, is going to be much different than the ones we've experienced in the past. So as you had mentioned earlier, kind of like that whole diversification thing becomes crucial. You know, before it was just like, oh, that's a nice little novel concept. Now it's just like, no, literally, you really need to have your eggs in separate baskets, because we don't know which basket might fall off the table at any given time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just making sure you're kind of looking at things and making sure everything is where it needs to be is really probably the most important thing. And then if after all that you want to play around with the, you know, because what I wanted to mention earlier is that on the one hand, you know, the way recessions work is they kind of clear out a lot of excess in certain areas, right? So on the one hand, people, you know, they only think about the one side where things kind of go down. But what a lot of folks don't realize is that opportunities are often created in situations like this. And a good entrepreneur, since we're talking about business owners, should be able to look at those opportunities. If you focus so much on the lack part, on, oh my God, I'm losing sales and stuff, you might miss the new business opportunity that's popping up during this time.
Valid point.
Is why being proactive is so important, because if that opportunity comes across, again, you want to be able to take advantage of it, because opportunity ain't knocking forever.
100%. It's not always, you know, the negativity is what's promoted, right? And, you know, the news and everything. And so, and you're right, it's the positive spin on it. You know, what can I do, you know, in a positive way to turn things around? What markets are going to be up during this recession that I can focus in, like kind of looking at your skill set, and maybe you have to make a shift in your business, or maybe you have to, you know, create another line, or, you know, another brand, because maybe it's not what you love to do, but it's going to help pay the bills and keep food on the table and maybe turn into a profitable stream. So yes, absolutely, keeping a positive outlook, not just seeing the downfall, being prepared, but also not dwelling in that space. That it's definitely about mindset.
Right.
For sure. All right, good. Well, Davita, it has been a pleasure, you know, sharing and chatting with you about this. I think it's timely, you know. I don't see any questions posted right now, so we'll kind of start to wrap up. But this was helpful. In my opinion, I learned some things. I'm hopefully the people out there got some tips for themselves, and, you know, we'll be revisiting this topic again, I'm sure. And what I would recommend is that, you know, if you are in business or looking to go in business, or even personally, you know, take heed to these things. Take heed to the timing of it. Focus on those tips and what you can do proactively, not, you know, reactively. And if you need assistance, you know, definitely feel free to reach out to, you know, Davita, myself. We'll kind of close out with our information as far as how to reach out to us. And we definitely wish everyone the best during this journey. But listen, enjoy the summer, right? Be conscious of your spending, but enjoy the summer. Stay creative. You know, think about what you can do, and we look forward to helping you out where needed. So, Business Basics Friday, just a quick session today. I want to thank Davita for hopping on with me and having this chat today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Safie Russell, founder and CEO of SDR Consulting, Inc., and a virtual firm in New York. We mostly work with business owners, helping them with the startup phase as well as cleanup. So that entails business consulting, bookkeeping, taxes, and tax resolution if you've gotten into trouble with the IRS estate. And we specialize in working with mental health professionals as well, and those who are getting their private practice started or already established. So that's a bit about me. You can find me online at SDR Consulting On social media, sdrconsultinginc.com, or call to schedule a 15-minute intro call at 516-255-6603. So Davita, if you can go ahead and close out your information, how people can reach you.
Sure. So you can go to my website at davitapraycpa.com. My phone number to my office is 484-302-8291. And if you're looking for the financial planning side of things, that's Modern Oasis Planning, LLC at modernoasisplanning.com. That number is 484-207-0457. I do have ability to, if people want to set appointments, they can actually do it directly from the website. Yeah, and if you have questions or want to set up an initial consultation, you can actually do it self-service online. So thank you for having me. I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for joining in on this Friday afternoon. So everyone have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Stay cool. And we'll be back next Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day. Thanks.